In 1996, while on a Westpac deployment with the US Navy, I was on leave in southern Japan in a small town called Kamakura. This is where the first shogun came into power and saw the rise of the samurai. It was an electrically spiritual place with the great Buddha along with dozens of temples and shrines. While I'm not a religious person at all, I'm pretty spiritual. And I believe things line up for reasons and happen for reasons. But I also love shopping in other cultures. I've always been drawn to little things, tiny trinkets and miniature versions of the real objects. One of these small things caught my eye in a shop along the road, and I blurted out, "Look, a tiny ginger jar." It was just like the full-size one that we had when I was growing up. And for a brief moment, I was a kid again, remembering my past and feeling a sense of home. A very bronzed, older gentleman with a long, white, pointed goatee and a huge white turban wrapped carefully around his head appeared from seemingly nowhere in front of a golden silk curtain. He wasn't from around here. His piercing blue eyes fixed on mine as if he was seeing into my soul. The hairs on the back of my neck stood to attention. He had an unfamiliar accent. Jar. That is a very Eastern American word. Are you from the East Coast of America? No, sir, I'm from Southern California. That is a very East Coast American word. Then he saw my necklace. My name written in Arabic caught his eye. Where did you acquire your neck piece? Acquire. In Bahrain. Are you American military? Yes, sir. How did you find the Arabic people to be? Most of them were very kind to me, but I didn't much like sitting in the back seat of the car or eating in the family section of the restaurants with the rest of my crew sitting in the men's only section without me. Those are the Arabic nation customs. We do not treat our women that way in my country. Then there was a palpable shift in energy, like the whole room was filled with shimmering fog. Everything else disappeared except this man and me in some other dimension. I swear his beard grew longer than it was before. He spoke in hushed tones. I am from Morocco, and I was trained at university in world religions in southern France. One day you will go to Morocco, and you will learn about the 5 pillars of Islam, and it will change your whole perception of Muslims. Then in an instant, the whole world went back to normal. He seemed oblivious to what had just transpired. His beard seemed shorter, and his aura was gone. He handed me the tiny jar wrapped in a small bag. I felt stunned for a moment. I forgot how to speak. He shook my hand, and then he clasped his hands in prayer and bowed slightly to me. I returned the gesture, and I was on my way. I was in the Navy for 22 years. I made 3 deployments on a plane that was too big to land on a carrier, so I was never on a ship. I traveled a lot and would land in countries where I was able to spend time with the local people. I was excited to experience the cultures, eat the food, hear the music, and see the dance and the art, and go shopping! I loved experiencing different cultures and all they had to offer. I was the only female flying at that time on my platform, so I got left behind a lot. It was a very isolating experience, and I often felt ostracized like an outcast. The guys always wanted to hang out in bars and strip clubs and find a local McDonald's and locate the red light districts. I wanted off the beaten paths, the local hole-in-the-wall cafes and markets, so I would trudge out on my own. In some places, I clearly should not have been by myself. A female, an American, US military, and alone. I remember one country where there were masked snipers atop several of the buildings where I was walking. I just saw it as part of the local color. I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof. In 1995, we landed one late afternoon in Bahrain. I was on a mission once again to buy whatever local artifact I could find. I fell in love with a 14-inch camel that smelled so bad. I decided it was a camel made out of camel. And I bought it. While most people were buying their names in Egyptian cartouche pendants, I wanted something different. The jeweler told me that he could spell my name in Arabic instead. Take my money. I went to dinner, and upon return, my necklace was ready. A day later, I was back in Saudi. My abaya, a robe-like covering worn by Muslim women, needed to be sewn up. So while at the souk, the marketplace, I went to the tailor. He was a little man as hairy as a bear. He told me not to come out of the dressing room until he gave my garment back. I was a female, alone, and not permitted to be seen in regular clothing. I slipped the robe off over my head and handed it to him through the curtain. He still snuck a peek to see what I was wearing. After alterations, I stepped out to admire my handmaid's tale robe in the mirror, albeit black instead of red. And again, the rebel, I did not cover my hair. He saw my necklace. Your name, Paula Jew? He said, you're close. It doesn't say stupid American. He shook his head vigorously, and we both laughed. Later, while at the bank, again by myself, I struck up a conversation with the teller. What's it like having all these American military people here in your country during Ramadan? So I don't think much about that. I'm trying to keep a roof over my head and feed my family. I said, you sound like all the middle-class Americans I know. 2 years later, I was on my way to Morocco on a side trip from Andalusia, Spain, but this time with my best friend on vacation. Mustafa, our tour guide, summoned the street vendors who badgered me to death until I bought a teapot I didn't want and a dagger I didn't need. On a bus tour arranged by the Navy base, traveling from Tangiers to Asila, I fell fast asleep. Halfway to our seaside destination, Mustafa got on the loudspeaker, stirring me from my slumber. I felt a little irritated. I'm going to share with you the 5 pillars of Islam. I shot straight up, eyes wide open. This is where I was supposed to pay attention. As Mustafa shared his religion, which turns out to be one of the 5 pillars, I listened intently, trying to take it all in. He concluded his speech, fulfilling his duty as a devout Muslim, and gave us his blessing. I remember thinking, it's a lot like the 10 Commandments and the 12 Steps of AA and the Golden Rule. Just more or less words. Asila is a small artist colony, a lot like Laguna Beach. It's where the Med meets the Atlantic with lapis blue waters and strong salty breezes. We stopped for a wonderful spicy meal from the sea, which caused me to drink way too much soda. The town was filled with fun-loving teenagers dancing and singing through the streets. It was some sort of holiday for them. Though I was enjoying the festive merriment, I needed to find the restroom. So I told my friend I'd be right back. I entered the Casbah, a maze-like warren of brightly painted murals with doors everywhere, some leading to homes, some to shops, but all connected to each other. I couldn't have been gone for more than 5 minutes, but when I came out, my traveling group, including my friend, were gone. This was before cell phones, so I wandered. I wandered for at least 15 minutes and ended up exactly where I started. 2 high school boys were watching me and smiling. I was pretty sure they were friendly, but charming people make me wonder. You look lost. We'll help you find your friends. I'm good, thanks anyway. You're lost. We'll help you find your friends. Look, guys, I don't want any trouble. I'm okay. They seemed like nice kids, but I was in a foreign country and decidedly nervous being lost. We won't hurt you, and you won't find your way. So come on, we'll take you to your friends. What choice did I have, really? So off I went, deep into the Casbah. But the boys were sneaky. They ran me through all their friends' shops, and I was obligated to buy a $1 bracelet from everybody in town. I thought that this would guarantee my safe return to my friends. So while buying, I think, like my 15th bracelet, this very handsome 40-ish man with jet black wavy hair and a very expensive Italian tailored suit, equally as expensive Italian shoes, manicured nails, and smelling like $1 million, walked up across the way. He knocked on the door, and a tiny elderly woman appeared. He pulled out a thick roll of money and began peeling off bills. No one said a word. He handed the woman the wad of cash. She bowed slightly. He did as well, and he left. I paused and turned to the boys. I know what that is in my country, but what the heck was that? The boys looked puzzled. They told me very matter-of-factly, well, that's alms to the poor. I had just learned about this. It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. So I asked them to keep talking. Well, her husband died a few years ago, and she can no longer take care of herself. So there are 2 women in town that cook and clean for her, take her shopping. There's another woman in town that takes her to her doctor's appointments, and he's the richest man in town, so he gives her money. I was dumbstruck. I had tears in my eyes, and my heart swelled with the kindness and empathy that these people showed to each other. That's your religion in action. They clearly didn't understand my confusion. This was completely normal for them. I don't see that in my country. They smiled and nodded as if to say, yep, that's how it works here. The boys delivered me to my traveling companions, and we took pictures with them. My friend asked me what had happened, and I couldn't quite find words to express what I had just experienced. So in all my travels, I've learned a few things about the universality of humans. The commonality between cultures, makes us more the same than different. Everyone around the world experiences the same emotions. We all have hurt, fear, anger, and joy. We may express them differently, but they're all the same feelings. Most people are trying to get their basic needs met, keep a roof over their heads, food on their tables, and provide for their families. Everyone thinks their kids are the cutest kids in the world. And though religions may differ, their fundamental truths are the same. Kindness, love, and compassion for each other is really all we need. Oh, and an aside, when witnessing a man getting hit in the nuts, all men watching will have the same reaction. I met a man from Morocco when I was in Japan. He knew I needed to learn something profound. I certainly did, and it changed my whole perception of Islam. As it turns out, that man was a prophet. Thank you.